could start. Well, first, before I share the slides and you all disappear, I just wanted to thank you all for coming, and really glad to see some names that I know, but especially glad to see some people that have joined that I don't know. Maybe you know other people on the AmeriFlux Management Project team, but we're really glad you're here. I'm Margaret Torn, and I am part of the AmeriFlux Management Project, along with quite a few other people on this call. Maybe you'll meet through our session here. So I'm now gonna share the screen, see how that works. All right, does it look all right? Good. So first, welcome, as I said, but welcome not just to the webinar, but to AmeriFlux. Some of you are really pretty new to having a Flux site that is part of the AmeriFlux network. So we're especially glad you joined. Some of you have been part of a tower team for quite some time, but you happen to have started a new site since 2017. And so you were also invited. We first invited everybody who would start a site since 2017. And then we also sent a message out to the AmeriFlux listserv. So everyone is welcome, but the focus for this hour will really be on orienting new site teams and older site teams to what's new, so that we hope you can get the most out of your AmeriFlux research and how we can help. So I'll briefly introduce AmeriFlux and the AmeriFlux Management Project. Then we will hear from three people who have AmeriFlux Flux Towers. Then hear from Trevor Keenan on events and getting involved. We'll hear from Yue Chia on data support, and there'll be a little time in there for question and answer. So you get to do the question part or the answer part. Then on tech support, Sebastian Birod will lead that. And again, a little time for Q&A. And at the end, we have discussion, and we thought we would break up into very small little breakout groups so that people can get to actually know each other and talk to each other a little bit. All right, so I said these were the new sites since 2017. It's actually a lot of sites, 150 sites joined the network in that time period. And of those, 91 already have published data available. And sites were in Canada, Mexico, Peru, that should say USA and Puerto Rico together. I don't know, I debated breaking it out or not. And if you want to make maps like this, you can make it by going to site search on the AmeriFlux site. So you're part of a cohort, that's what I wanted to say. You know, it's a group of people who have joined. You're not alone. So I think all of you probably know what is the AmeriFlux network, but here's some representations of it. It is a network of sites. Cumulatively, since the first site started in 1991, there are 556 sites have joined the network, and they're arrayed from Chile to Point Barrow, Alaska, all through the Americas. Cumulatively now, there's 2,740 site years of data to download. So AmeriFlux is data contributors and data downloaders. It's the site team members, and there are now more than 8,500 people who are on the listserv. So that's a kind of community. And then there's all the great science that people are doing. I think those are all different aspects of AmeriFlux. And it's also our partnerships and people. Many of you are very strongly affiliated with another network or with an agency or with some other scientific driver. And that's great. So this is sort of a network of networks, or a meshing of networks and people involved. I mentioned at the beginning, I'm part of the AmeriFlux Management Project. We're a project that's funded by the Department of Energy to support the network. So we've divided ourselves, or we've grouped ourselves into four main functions and four main teams, and they are data, QA, QC, and support. And that's Yue here, and he'll be talking to you in just a minute. Then we have technical QA, QC, and support. And this is Sebastian Brode. That's who will be talking to you right after Yue. And we have outreach and then coordination among networks and projects. That part is led by Trevor Keenan, and he'll be talking to you. And then we have general support of the network and also of core sites, sites that are funded to operate long-term. Yeah, so some of the benefits of being part of AmeriFlux that I hope you've already experienced, and if you haven't, then I hope this webinar can help you get there, is being part of the community. It's the visibility for your work and the opportunity for collaboration. And then it's the support that I just mentioned for making high quality measurements in the field, for the ease of sharing your data and getting credit for your data. So those are some of the things that we try to have be the benefits, and we hope we can do better. I could have added more, like safety, really important one, bringing new people in, the inclusion across the network, a lot of them. So now I want to switch gears and introduce you to three people who are each going to talk for just a couple minutes or two about something to share in their setting up a new site. They may be experienced PIs, but they've all set up a new site recently. Lisamarie Windham-Myers, who's with USGS here in California. Kathryn Ladig, who is with the USGS, the Utah Geologic Survey, and Tim Griffis from the University of Minnesota. So Lisamarie, I think you are here.
I am.
Awesome. Thank you.
Can you see me?
Yeah.
I can. Okay, great.
Beautiful. So take it away.
Okay. All right. So actually, I'm really glad you gave that little slide on community visibility, support, and sharing data, because those are all reasons that I'm so glad that we got our systems into the AmeriFlux network. The pictures here are basically of our tidal marsh that's up in Nisqually Wildlife Refuge, which is in Puget Sound. And you can see basically it's dry and then wet, and it's incredibly dynamic. So adding these eddy covariance systems has really helped us understand the dynamics and how to better model these systems, because there's so much variability. It's not just seasonal, it's not just tidal, there's a lot going on. The questions that were sort of posed to us to think about were, what are we jazzed about? At this point, it's really about processing the data and looking at, we've processed the data, basically looking at how we can incorporate this into models in terms of all the variability that's going on. And so that's going on right now. There's a paper that just came out in the AGU book that Ken Krause and Zhiling Zhu just put out on wetland ecosystem management and carbon cycling. And Isa Wu here in the left corner is the one who led that. Our biggest problems with the site, and the reason I'm glad we're part of the community, is interpreting, whether our data is coming out good, whether we have good turbulence measurements. We learned a lot by having a site visit at a different site, one in San Francisco Bay, and then we use some of that information to improve the site up in Puget Sound. I will say that the hardest part about doing this work up in Puget Sound, this site, really has been permitting and the amount of maintenance that was needed for these sites in terms of power supply and bird basically pooping on the mirrors and so on, and just things like that. So we have a lot of gaps that needed to be filled. Ellen Stewart Henchins in the right-hand photo is really the point postdoc on this right now, who's working on that. And, it's a very labor-intensive process. So by being part of a community that can help us do some of that gap filling and understanding where we might be having good results versus bad results in our data, we actually benefit by being part of a much bigger network than just our little USGS team, which is very focused on not so much climate change stuff, but really focused on land management decisions and how we, if we can put a carbon benefit to any of these land management decisions that happen, for example, in this National Wildlife Refuge.
Great, thank you so much. I've been up there to the Nisqually area.
Oh,
It's
good.
a beautiful wetland.
Oh, yeah.
I know why you mentioned the birds, but I hadn't thought about what they might be doing to your instruments.
Yeah. They're
All right.
special.
Now I'd like to introduce Kathryn Ladig, who is has one of the newest sites in the network. So if I turn it over to you, Kathryn.
Sounds great. So I'm Kathryn, and I would like to give due credit to Paul Inkenbrandt, who's my coworker and really mastermind behind our work. He's shown here at a site that we are in the process of establishing in a wetland in Moab. So I also might be talking to you, Lisamarie, about some of the things you've gone through with a wetland site that goes from being totally wet to totally dry. It's going to be interesting. We do already have 2 sites that are established and contributing to the network. We've set these up in the last couple of months. One is located in the Bonneville Salt Flats, shown on the left there. And so that one's in far western Utah. It's very, very, very arid. And then the other is in an agricultural setting, more in central Utah, close to the town of Wellington. We're hoping to use these towers to be able to calibrate our remote sensing techniques, as well as quantifying consumptive use. I guess going back to those questions, we're very excited to be part of the AmeriFlux Network, as folks have been saying, to be sharing our data with such an international group, and also hopefully getting some feedback from that community that's going to help us improve the science that we are doing here in Utah. The AmeriFlux website and the YouTube channel have been so helpful to us already. So like if there are other folks getting started, that's kind of where Paul and I would suggest they start. All of our questions, it seems like we're able to find answers there. And same, like when we've been in contact with staff, it's been great. So yeah, thank you guys already for the help you've provided us.
Well, thanks for the plug for the AmeriFlux website. And I think you all are really proactive in reaching out to the tech team, to Sebastian, for input as you're setting up your site. And that was great, I think. So now Tim Griffis is one of the has some of the more longer running towers in the whole network, but he has a new site in Peru. So Tim.
So thank you, Margaret, for the invitation to speak, and good afternoon, everyone. So I've been part of the AmeriFlux Network since about 2004, and I was first established sort of in the AmeriFlux Network at our sort of more agricultural sites. Some of my work with Canada FluxNet was in boreal forests, working with Andy Black. And over that time, I've always wanted the opportunity to get a project going down in the Amazon. I've always had a passion for the Amazonian forests. And working with Randy Coca at USDA Forest Service, Eric Lilskoff, and then Craig Wason at Silva Carbon, we started getting some pieces together, and we're able to get a tower established down in Iquitos, and then eventually we were able to get a DOE grant to really sort of solidify this project. So we're interested in studying the biophysical feedbacks related to methane emissions from these large forested palm swamp peatlands in Iquitos. There's very little information about sort of the biogeochemistry of these sites, so it's really sort of groundbreaking and exciting. I will say the logistics have been more challenging than I had imagined. Power at the site, theft at the site, all these sorts of things and setbacks have been difficult. And if something goes wrong, there's usually fairly large lag times in getting those addressed. The AmeriFlux management team has already helped us with this project. We lost one of our open path CO2 sensors due to some technical problem, and they were very quick to get a new sensor shipped down to Iquitos. We're in the process of getting that installed now. So I've always sort of appreciated that about the management team over the years. Even at Rosemont, I've always like knowing that you can submit your data and have somebody find a problem that you were unaware of. You know, we all try to do very careful work, but it's easy to make a mistake, or it's easy to lose track of a sensor that's drifting over time. So that is extremely helpful and a great benefit. It's also nice knowing that you're contributing to a larger sort of global effort at trying to understand these ecosystems. And so it's always good to have somebody else, especially the modeling community, making the most of your data. So what am I jazzed about in 2022? That was one of the questions. We have AC power to the site, which is going to, I think, really expand the science that we can do at the site. And we're also just now getting automated chambers online, both soil chambers and tree bowl chambers, so that we can monitor methane emissions and relate that to what we're seeing at the tower. So thank you.
That's super. Thank you. And so thank you, Lisamarie, Kathryn, and Tim. We thought it'd be nice, well, it was really great to hear from you all about your different sites and to let other people see who's part of the network and who's setting things up. But because I want to keep moving, because we want to make sure we have time at the end for discussion and also for question and answer. If you have any thoughts, suggestions, or questions for the panelists, please put them in the chat. And in fact, there's already one there, so that's awesome. Keep them coming, and we can have conversation in the chat also as we go. And now I'd like to turn it over to Trevor Keenan to just tell you about some of the community events and opportunities in the network.
Thanks, Margaret. And thanks to the presenters. It's really exciting to see all the new science the new sites are bringing to the community. So I'm going to speak briefly about community events. And just to remind you that it's not just joining a network, you're joining a community. And part of the AmeriFlux management project, our role is to support the community and make it as vibrant and as useful for everybody who's a member of this greater community as possible. And to do so, we have various events that we organize. So most years we have annual meetings, for example. Some of you may or may not have attended some of our in-person annual meetings in the pre-COVID times. They looked a lot like the picture in the bottom, where we gathered together and met at a specific location and talked science, and were great. We also had AGU town halls and data tech workshop, where AGU town halls are designed to be more broader engagement of the broader community. Data tech workshops are coming together to talk about the tech issues around maintaining and setting up sites, etc. And workshops around various thematic questions that come up over time and synthesis of broader research questions. Obviously, this year is special. We are, and last year was special too, for reasons we all know. And our meetings look a lot more like this second image you see here, with a lot of people, and they're virtual primarily. So this has really increased engagement to a large extent. So for example, this past year, a few weeks ago, September, we had our annual meeting, which had over 400 registrants, which is a huge increase over what we would normally have in person. So especially for new members of the community, such as yourselves, new site PIs who have never been to an AmeriFlux meeting before and are not sure whether it's worth the effort to fly all the way to some city, somewhere potentially far away to join, and you can now join virtually to experience what a meeting is like. We hope in the future to move back to regular in-person meetings or hybrid events, such as that we'll have later this year at the AGU Town Hall. But just to encourage you to attend these virtual opportunities to get a sense of how they work and what the benefits can be. So we had that virtual meeting this year. We'll likely, looks like, have one next year, but of course we don't know yet. And we'll have a hybrid meeting this fall at AGU. So please do attend that if you are joining AGU. Next slide, please. Just to briefly highlight that we have these years of specific science emphasis within AmeriFlux that we call Year of Themes. And these really galvanize the community around a specific topic and really move science on that topic forward. So for example, in 2019 and 20, we had the Year of Methane, which ended up being 2 years because there was so much interest in the theme. And there was a lot of work done around methane fluxes for that year. For example, AmeriFlux provided instrumentation or loaners to sites for methane to allow people to make measurements at their sites. We currently have a year of water fluxes, and there are a lot of activities around that I'll talk about in a minute, but just to let you know that we have more instrumentation campaigns and also loaner campaigns that are resources for you to make use of. And next slide, please. So how do you do that? How do you get involved? How do you join the community in more than just name? So we have a lot of different things going on. And here you see an example of the different activities you could get involved in. So for example, a data advisory committee. We have a science steering committee. We have an urban fluxes committee, a year of water organizing committee, a lot of committees. Okay, so if you want to be involved in committees, and committees are great ways to get to know the community because it's this joint decision-making process that identifies priorities and moves the science direction forward in a cohesive way. So it's a really nice process to be engaged with. Feel free to reach out to any of the people identified there or anybody in the AmeriFlux Management Project if you have any questions about those.
You know, I heard, sorry, before I go to the next slide, that we also left out the nature-based climate solutions group that has started, and Kim is leading that. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I'll just put it in the chat. Sorry.
Good point, Margaret. Yeah, please put that in the chat. We also, if you're early career, we have the FluxNet Early Career Network. And these are very active, organizing seminars on connecting early career researchers with various opportunities in the broader FluxNet community. And apart from committees, we also have working groups, such as the Land Atmosphere Interactions Working Group, which had a large workshop a few months ago now, led by Andrew Richardson and a broader committee of folks. There's the Rubisco AmeriFlux Working Group, led by myself, Bill Riley, Chi Chen, and Zalala McConan. And this is focused on integrating models with flux data. And finally, there's the Natural Climate Solutions Group, led by Kim Novick, which is focused on, guess what? Natural climate solutions. And ultimately, then we have also a diversity inclusion committee, which is looking at how we improve our diversity, equity, inclusion initiatives within the broader AmeriFlux network. And Deb Agarwal is leading that. Next slide, please. I think I've gone over time, so I'm going to wrap up this section quickly here. Just to say that we have a lot of events that you can attend, other than committees and different initiatives. We have also these events that you can come and join. One coming up soon is the Year of Water webinar, so thinking about soil water potential. We're also having an ET workshop. So this will be a much broader effort, thinking about all things water flux related. And still the announcement for registration for that going out either today or tomorrow. So keep an eye out for that. There's the town hall. And next year there will be a whole host of things happening, a lot of activities. And so how do you keep up with all this and keep it on your radar, what's happening? Well, please follow us on Twitter. This is one way. And another that's often overlooked is joining the email list. Now, when you register your site or yourself on the AmeriFlux website, you automatically join the email list. But please remember to also encourage your group members to do the same. It's not just for PIs, it's for everybody. And it's particularly useful for early career scientists who really make use of these opportunities. So please do remember to encourage everybody to join. Likewise for FluxNet, for broader announcements, that is a separate email list, separate thing to sign up for. And I'd encourage you to join and encourage all your group members to join. You don't automatically join that by joining AmeriFlux.
Trevor?
That is it from me. Thank you, Margaret. I'll hand it back to you.
All right. So I'd like to invite Yue now, and there's a lot that could be said on the data, but he's picked out his top 3 things to know and top 3 things to do for you. So I think this will be really helpful. Yue?
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening. I'm Yue Chia, and just briefly, these are the people within the data team, Deb Ergowal, Daniel Christensen, Hao-Zhen Chu, Fiona Bryan, and Gilberto Pastorello. Slide, please. So Margaret wanted me to come up with like 3 things you all should know and 3 things you should probably do with your sites. The first thing I'll highlight is on the data policy. So this is typically something people now have to pick when you register a new site. There are 2 policy choices. There's the newer Creative Commons license, CC BY 4, and the previous AmeriFlux license, which is what we now call the legacy license. If you are interested in getting your data published and processed using the OneFlux processing pipeline to generate the FluxNet product, the prerequisite right now is that you opt for the CC BY 4 policy. So it is highly recommended, and it also makes your data more accessible. Next slide, please. Okay, it's a little out of order, but that's fine. So this is one thing that I would hide.
Sorry.
That's all right, no worries. I'll just swing of it. But yeah, if you have a site that's registered, keep your information of your site up to date. This is the site page of US ARM as an example, but add things like images, your publications, and BADM information, which is metadata about your site, so that more people know about your site, you have more information for your data users, etc. Next slide, please. Okay, so if you have registered your site and you're interested in trying to submit data, there is this page, which is you would upload your data via the upload data page. Pick your site ID of whichever site you have registered. And there are 2 kinds of data you can upload. One is BADM, one is half-hourly data. If you're uploading half-hourly data, you can pick between gap field or data without gaps, and then submit those to us. There is a whole page about the formats that are involved for this data. You can read about those more on the half-hourly data upload formats. It goes into more details about the variables and what we expect in terms of formatting. Next slide, please. So if you have data that's populated now with your half-hourly, then we'll be interested in knowing about how those variables map to the instruments. And this is a page which allows you to do that. Each site, so if you go to this page, you have to pick out your site ID, and then there's a whole list of variables that you have submitted, and then instruments, the start dates, and all of those things. Typically, you do this after you have submitted your half-hourly data, and then we'll work with this. This is also necessary if you want to process FluxNet data. Next slide, please. Okay, so half-hourly data is one piece of your site's data. There is the other pieces which are classified as BADM in general. There's a lot of templates that are floating around. There's standards, different kinds of templates which map to things like your veg cover, your canopy height, and we have a new tool which allows you to generate customized templates. So you can select things which are relevant to your site, and then create a template and then populate it and submit that to us. Next slide, please. So you have made through all of the things you've done. You have your data published. Now, maybe you'll be curious as to what kinds of data you have, and you want to download your data just to check. This page has seen a little revamp since we introduced the new policy, so it's a little different from before. If you have not downloaded your data, you now have to select a policy for your data, and then the kinds of data you're interested in to download, and then click next on that. So next page, please. Yeah, and if you're a site team, you may be curious as to who's using your data. We provide this in a log format. If you go to your site info page, there is a tab up there which is like data download log or data use log. It will provide you with all the information of people who have attempted to download your data and under what policy, if relevant, and you can reach out to them if you like to know more about it. So that's it, I think. Yeah, next slide. Okay,
All right.
I think that's it for me.
All right, let me go back to this one just for a minute because we have time right now in the webinar schedule, if someone has a question for anyone, so about data, how to get it submitted, problems you've had with QA/QC, didn't understand something, anything at all.
There's a question in the chat, I think, which says, is there any info on when data is cited, like a Google Scholar alert for data citations? As of now, there isn't anything yet. We are probably going to bundle things with a couple of tools which are out in the wild to make those information more available. But yeah.
And
if I can add a quick note, Google Scholar is actually picking up citations to these data sets. So some of these data sets, if you look at the data set on Google Scholar, you'll see the citations in Google Scholar. And other tools are starting to do that as well.
so really important that you do go to your site info page and keep your data citation and DOI information up to date. And then you can at least search for your DOI. Hopefully someone did use it to cite the data. Good question.
Yeah, and since DOI is
Kim,
brought up, I'll just
yeah.
quickly mention that DOIs are assigned to your data, and yeah, you want to make sure that the proper people within your sites have the right citations. So yeah, keep those up to date. There are more questions in the chat.
Okay, and Tim has his hand up too. Let's see, let me go to Tim, then we'll go back to chat.
Okay, thanks, Margaret. I was just curious, where do we find the download statistics for our sites?
So yeah, if Margaret, you want to go back to the site info page there.
Oh, not here. Okay, yep, I can do that.
Yeah, so
Data use log.
there's a data use log tab right there beside the image gallery. If you click on that, it would lead you to that statistics page.
Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm in there really with a follow-up. So the one that you'll see on the data use log is available to the public and you don't need to log in to see it. But if you want to get the emails of folks, there's a little icon but on that data use log page that will prompt you to log in and take you to the data download page that is shown in the other slide.
Let's see about one more, if there's a quick answer to one question in the chat, and then we can do the rest via chat. But Yue, is there one you want to read out loud and share? I can't see the chat, so I'm going to leave that to you.
There's one on facilities to fill gap data in the site. And I don't know, Hausen or Gilberto, you want to talk to that more?
Yeah, I think the best way for you to, well, the easiest way for you to do that now is to make sure that your data is deposited to AmeriFlux and all the information and metadata that we need to process the site is uploaded, and we will do that processing. Short of that, there are a few options that you can use. We have the OneFlux code. That's the code that does the gap filling up and available for folks to download, but that's not really intended for folks to use individually. So that's a little hard to use. So you have to know quite a bit about programming and installing software to be able to use. And there is also the software package called ReadyProc that's implemented in R. That's made available by the Max Planck Institute. And that is a little easier to use, and you can download that and use to do this processing as well.
Thank you. Great. All right. Thank you. Okay. Xavier has his hand up. Do you have a quick question for us? Then we'll move over to Tom.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Hi everyone. Greetings from Quito, Ecuador. So I have a new site in the Andes at 4,200 meters. Actually, it's in the headwaters of the Amazon. And well, the site is already functioning and is working actually since a few months ago. But I'm wondering if there is a group in the community who can answer questions about data quality. That is my first concern now that I'm starting to get data, and we are reviewing the data, the different variables, but always will be nice if I have a person that I can contact in case I have questions.
Yeah, just maybe Sebastian, are you available?
Yep,
A
absolutely.
really nice segue
Absolutely.
to what you're going to talk about. And you can also write, let me just say, Javier, you can also go to the AmeriFlux-support at lbl.gov for data once you've got data to be processed. But Sebastian is going to tell you about how you make sure you're getting to your half-hour product right.
Okay.
You know, which is a big thing for a new site. And then we're gonna, so why don't we do that, Sebastian? And meanwhile, we'll move over
Thank
to
you.
our site. Thank you.
Hello. So I'm going to try to, we're a little bit late, so I'm going to.
No, we're fine. We're just fine.
But,
Actually,
so my name is Sebastian Birod. I'm a geophysicist at Lawrence Berkeley Lab. I serve as Margaret's deputy for the AmeriFlux project, and I lead the AmeriFlux tech team. I want to introduce the members of the team, Stephen Chan, Hao-Sun Chu, and Sigrid Dangle, that are pictured here on this slide. If there's one important email address that you need to remember during this talk for tech support is AmeriFlux-tech@lbl.gov. Any question regarding tech should be addressed to this email address. We have a website where there's a lot of good information also, so that's what the address is shown here. The URL is shown here. There's a lot of information. Next slide, Margaret. So one of the first support that we do to the community is on instrumentation. So first, I mean, we help people calibrate their gas analyzer. The way we do this is we provide secondary standard for CO2 and methane for all registered AmeriFlux sites. Those are high accuracy methane and CO2 standards that are linked to the World Meteorological Organization scales. So you can calibrate your air gas for CO2 and methane. And then we also recently acquired a dew point generator that is commonly used to calibrate the water channel of gas analyzer. So you can request those using the magic email address that I just mentioned. We also have an instrument loaner program that team alluded to, where we provide power sensors to maintain intercomparability of power observation within the network. So what you do is you contact us, you request a power sensor, and you use it to benchmark your observation at your site to put that back into the commonly used scale. We offer usually, let's say, short term, typically less than 3 months, instrument loans to site that request them to use in situation like sensor is damaged or sensor requires a service, factory service. So and that's for open and closed pass gas analyzers, sonic anemometers, and I didn't put four components net radiometer. So that's the loaner program that we have. We also have developed a system because the change in the storage term is a crucial component in quantifying that ecosystem exchange, especially in tall canopy ecosystems. So you can request the AmeriFlux portable system, portable profile system, which collects vertical observation of CO2, water, air temperature at 10 level. And that could help you either better quantify the storage term or even have an estimate of what your storage term is at your site. We also recently acquired the leaf area index for tall canopy package that can be borrowed upon request, because we realize, individual segment of that is. Another important aspect, so thank you, Margaret, next slide, is we have what we call the rapid response system, which is a standalone package with a full component of flux, MET, and radiation sensors. We have 5 rapid systems that we've put together that are suitable for quick deployment to help anybody in the community capture valuable research opportunities that arise from unexpected condition or short-term measurement windows. So we have 2 that are deployed, so we have 3 systems available right now. Following a push from the community, we have assembled a working group of experts in urban flux to distill application challenges and recommendation to use the eddy covariance technique in urban environments. We wrote a short white paper, so that's what you have in the URL shown on the slide. And we have 2 dedicated rapid response systems for urban environments. So again, if you're interested in doing eddy covariance measurements in urban environment, magic address. Everybody should know it now. Contact us or visit the URL that I have put here. Next slide. As Trevor mentioned, we recently launched the Year of Water fluxes, and this led to several near-term action. In particular, we want to increase the quality and consistency of water cycle measurements across the network. So there's two thrusts to this effort. So we're gonna augment water-related measurements at US-based. It's important, US-based sites for saltwater content, saltwater potential, water table depths, and total precipitation. So we're in the process of selecting sites. We've started the work during surveys, but then we got response. So we're putting a list together of sites that we're going to contact one by one eventually. And then the second interesting thrust to me is we want to generate saltwater retention curve at 40 to 50 AmeriFlux sites. And that's a partnership that we are developing with University of Indiana. And it is super promising. And that was something that the community, again, requested that we put more emphasis on. So,
Wonderful.
Okay, so next slide. Okay, so that's another important one, and that's for Javier. So one of the big push that we've done over the years is site evaluation, right? And that was something that we did a lot pre-COVID in person, where we would put a portable deconveyance system, deployment side by side with the in-situ system, and assess, from the instrument performance to the processing to issuing recommendation and on best practices and any technical matters. In the last 2 years, we had a new framework for this approach, which is the Site Visit 2.0, which builds on our experience that we gained from the physical site visits, and also because we need to scale the impact of this program. And we started the transition from in-person comprehensive site visit to a virtual assessment of a site visit. This framework is focusing on, so it's not a physical deployment of a portable deconveyance system, but it's rather an interaction between us, tech team members and site teams, and it focuses on the evaluation, and that's exactly what Javier was talking about, of eddy conveyance data processing steps from the high frequency data to the 30-minute quality control data. And when we do this at a site, we also issue, findings and recommendation, short reports. So you can request a site visit right at your site if you email us at AmeriFlux.gov. That's the email address. You can also, we also, as part of that new framework for site visit, we are pushing the concept of ambassador local rep initiative in 2022. So we're still developing that concept, but you can also contact us if you want to be participating in that activity. Next. Ooh.
No, that's it, Sebastian. Maybe before we leave that one, Javier, just to add then, one thing I know that works well for people too is go ahead and submit, once you've got your data in the right format, you maybe talk to Sebastian's team a little bit, go ahead and submit a small file. Go ahead and upload it, and you will get really nice. First, you'll get a little format QA, quick feedback on, is it in the right format? You just try it. You'll get feedback. You make it work. When it works, then it will go to the data team who have a really great protocol for QA/QC, and they're really happy to see your data early. They know it's new. They know who they know who the sites are. Say, it's a new site. They'll be happy, and they'll give you feedback on it. And it's really part of the process.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. So, and that would, of course, be true for everyone here, but because I'm sharing my screen, I can only see a few people, so I only address that to you. Well, thank you so much. We have time for just a question or two if people have now on the tech support. And you can also put them in the chat. But anybody want to raise a hand? And I can't see you, so speak up or else raise your hand and then I'll see it.
Yeah, there were a few questions, but they were addressed, I think, in the chat on tech.
Okay.
So I think that's good.
All right.
And I don't see
Okay.
raised hands.
All right. Well, if you think of something later, that's great. So it is great to see everyone and be together, but we also thought this would be a good opportunity for you to meet someone else who is in the network. So we're going to break up into very small breakout groups, just 4 people and an AMP team member to help facilitate things per breakout. So you'll want to show, turn on your video, I guess if you can, so get to know each other. They've got a nice couple questions there about if you could ask a question of a peer mentor or network buddy, what would you ask? What do you bring to the network? Including, do you have a secret skill or superpower that no one knows about? You can tell. So anyway, we'll get to know each other a little bit. And if there's time, maybe it's time to share something that kind of worries you a little bit about your site, maybe worries you about safety. See what suggestions you get. But this will just be a fun discussion, say hello and get to meet someone else. And maybe you'll even get to you'll want to follow up with them later about something. We'll see. So Christine Buchner, who keeps us all running, is going to do the magic of helping us get to breakout rooms now.
Okay, this should pull you into the breakout room. Let me know if it's not happening for you.
Thank you. And anyone who doesn't go in can just stay in the main room if you don't get.
You can move around.
Yeah.
Okay, and so